Blessings all. Welcome to the Men's Healing Network podcast. I'm your host, Vincent Perez. Throughout this first season, we've explored what it means to be a man who chooses healing over performance, connection over isolation, and courage over certainty. We've talked about friendship, grief, fatherhood, vulnerability, accountability, and the communities that help us become more fully ourselves. For our season 1 finale, we widen the lens to understand what society might look like beyond the patriarchy. Patriarchy is often framed as a men's issue or a women's issue, but our guests invite us to see something much bigger. They challenge us to consider how systems of domination shape all of us, and how healing ourselves is linked to creating communities rooted in belonging, truth, and love. Joining us are two remarkable leaders whose work has transformed organizations, communities, and countless individual lives, including my own. Fernell Miller is the founder of CEO of The Root of Us, where she serves as a facilitator, coach, keynote speaker, and educator, helping leaders and communities advance racial justice through healing, dialogue, and transformative action. With more than 4 decades of experience in education, Fernell's work centers identity, belonging, and the belief that lasting change begins with our shared humanity. She is joined by Dr. Jen Self, who is the principal of Brick 13 Jedi Coaching and Consulting. They are a strategist, educator, coach, consultant, and mental health provider. A nationally recognized leader in intersectional racial and gender justice, Dr. Self has spent their career helping organizations and individuals build courageous cultures where people can tell the truth, change harmful systems, and lead with authenticity. Together, Dr. Jen and Fernell offer a conversation that is compassionate, challenging, and deeply hopeful. Rather than asking how we can simply become better men, they ask a more fundamental question. How do we become more fully human? Whether you've been with us since our first episode or you're just joining us for the very first time, we're grateful you are here. Thank you for walking this journey with us through season 1. Please enjoy this conversation with Fernell and Jen. I am so excited with our two guests today, Fernell Miller and Jen Self. We have connected back in 2020 during the pandemic as the Equity Institute emerged. And this collective grew with these relationships that I'm so grateful for. Fernell and Jen, Dr. Jen, I'm so impressed, influenced, and catalyzed by your service and your work and your being in my life. And so I'm really grateful that you're both here for this conversation. As we begin, I already gave you the big question that we like to ask up front is, what does men's healing mean to you? Typically, I will invite somebody and then they'll invite somebody else. But for this one, I knew I wanted to invite you both directly. And we'll start with you for now. Where does that question lead you? And what do you want to say as we start here?
Well, first, we want to say, yes, of course, we are right where we're supposed to be. There's nowhere to get to. It's all already right here. Our worth, our wisdom, our wholeness, and our magic. And I'm honored. We're honored to be in this space 6 years later, which was so aligned from the moment we met. I don't know if you remember. You remember the moment we met and took each other's breath away by talking about who are you? Who are you really? Who are you becoming? What's the truth about you? And I love that this men's healing network, when I talk about healing, I don't have identities that I put to it because we all need it. And so when I hear men's healing network, first I'm like, ooh, who's going to do that? And ooh, who's going to lead that? And I'm so grateful that you think and believe and honor that women should be a part of it. And that you would invite us and have, like, of course, because we know you better than you know you. I'm giddy myself, too, just to be able to have this conversation and time with you both to talk about it. And so I can name 3 healed men off the top of my head. I wish I could name more, and you're one of them. And what I mean by that is kind of the prompt of what do you want people to know from this podcast is I want them to know who they are and how to say no to the patriarchy, to the harm, to the ways that we've been convinced that we should be, and say yes and center their humanity. And you are a man who showed up to me in that way without telling me about it. You demonstrated by your actions, your eyes, how you honored the space, your questions, your curiosity, your nervous system showed up in a way that I could hold space with you and sit with you. I showed up at another man's office today that I don't know very well, but from meeting him once, I'm like, that's a safe man I could be around. I want to be able to connect and work with. I'm excited about this work because I wish that I could have more of that feeling of safety from the men that I'm around. And I've been working with men in a male-dominated field for 40 years as a PE teacher, coach, an athlete. I am with men in a male-dominated field all the time. And I can name 3 or 4 out of those years. So yeah, I'd love you to do some men's healing network. Can you start? Where do you start? No. But you started with yourself, and I honor that. I welcome that. And I'm excited for that. Let's go. Yeah, I'm ready to help, support any way I can.
Thank you. In 40 years, in 40 years for now, that's
I'm serious. I just was thinking about this morning because of who I just popped up in his office because I'm like, I need to be connected with you. I don't have that. I didn't have that for my boys that grew up into men. I've looked, I've searched, I've been around this state, and I can name maybe 4, which is very harmful to me and hurtful to my boys and family that I couldn't raise them with safe and brave men. It's very difficult, especially Black men.
That's
and I know they're out there. They don't have each other. We need this network. We need this badly. I've been looking for it for a long time.
Thank you. I mean, that's commentary all in itself there. Dr. Jen, where does that lead you? Also, just share a little bit about like what framed your perspective as well.
I think my perspective is framed by my life living inside a white family and being a white person and being in a country that's been run into the ground by white men. That whiteness and masculinity is just, it's so ingrained in the white family and the way that it operates. Even if you've got parents who are like interested in questioning things and interested in questioning racism, it's still so built in. And I was a kid who came into the world, not feminine, not masculine, but like leaning towards more masculine stuff and not really feeling like I was a girl. I definitely was being socialized as if I was a girl, but it was so foreign to me that that there were only a few of those things that I like really took in. And a lot of those things were the danger of being around men. Like that was one of the biggest ones that I took in, was like how dangerous men are. And then I had a father who was dangerous. And I think so that the part about men's healing that stands out when I think about my dad is it would be so easy and lovely to be able to just paint with a broad stroke and say, men are bad, or this person's bad, or masculinity's bad. But that's not true. Masculinity and men are complicated and are not one thing. My dad was not one thing. He wasn't just loving. He wasn't just scary. He was both of those things all the time at the same time. That really shaped how I understood myself. It shaped how I understood masculinity. It shaped how I understood the world. And it made me think that love was dangerous. And I think that that's what I see a lot around how men operate, is that even their love is dangerous. So that's where I'm going to rest right now.
That is a powerful statement. Even their love is dangerous. As I reflect on, the men I come from, not one of them was safe, ultimately, right? I think there is the complexity. A lot of the men I come from were in gang culture, Chicano, what I call urban Chicanos, but barrio, like gang culture. And even I think to my father was very tender at times, but extremely violent at others. And there's always kind of a bit of walking on glass, or eggshells, as they say, about, when that might occur, or because it could just happen anytime, right? So I have an uncle who came to stay after he was on his kind of, his third strike in California. He'd been locked up longer than he had been out. And he was finally free of all of that, parole, all that kind of thing. He came to stay with my mom in Pasco, Washington. And the complexity there, because he was so gentle and loving of my sister's children, who my mom was raising. And he always walked the dog. And he was definitely on a routine. He's definitely trained, institutionalized for that. but his history is also one of taking lives. And so I do hold this complexity that we are a lot of things. But I'm finding that the most powerful tool, I have is my attention. And wherever that goes, that's what they say, right? The energy flows. And so where do we as men put our attention? I'm curious for now when you said, we know you better than you know you. There's something there about love. Even love is dangerous with men. And we know you better than you know you. So where does that take you?
Yeah, that predictability. And I couldn't articulate this a few years ago, but people have likened me or said to me out loud is, you act like a white man to me, Fernell, a black woman. I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? Oh, you mean, and they're referring to the way that I move. I move without permission. So I would do a lot of programs or do things with youth, and like the stunned look of, who told you could do that? I don't need anybody's permission to move and love and promote and support, and all the things that I would do were questioned because who told you could do that? Who did you get permission from? How did you speak that way without shrinking yourself or making people uncomfortable? And then I realized, I'm like, oh yeah, I have been around men a lot because I move like they move. They're not apologetic. They're not asking permission. They're not seeking approval. And that's what, as women, we're socialized to do. And Vincent, you've known me for a long time. Like a lot of that socialization didn't work on me, right? I'm like, who told me I was supposed to be afraid? I didn't grow up or wasn't socialized to fear men. I grew up with brothers. I could whip all of them. Through college, my mentality, I talk about it now and think, oh my gosh, how did you do that, Fernell? Through high school and college, I was not afraid of men or being followed because first you had to catch me and you couldn't because I'm fast. And if you were strong enough to wrestle me to the ground, you're going to be sorry you put your body between my legs that could crush your ribs. That's how my mind worked. Like, you are no match for me. And the look on my face, if you can't even hold eye contact with me, how you think you're going to take me? So I didn't grow up in fear of men. They knew that I was not to be messed with because of how I grew up with the boys and men in my life. And I was a badass and didn't know it, really. I thought, I'm like, what are all you girls running from? Like, you're faster than them. And I would always coach my elementary kids. It's like, find the fastest girl and then stay with her through high school, college, and you'll get better. That's how you get better, is you find the fastest girl. The complexity of it is holding those truths at the same time. Is I know you because you're predictable. I know what you're going to do. I know how you're going to move, how you act, what you're going to say, what you're not going to say. So I'm always ahead of you. I'm always 2 steps ahead of you. I always can take you. And why should I have to? I don't want to spend energy to do that. I'm going to be living my life over here. I'm not going to live in your head. And in my head, it's not going to live the fear of you. And so that's where I go with kids and knowing who they are to help protect them from that mentality of be afraid, be running, be on guard the whole time, because that's not thriving. And then how to say no. Children are the most vulnerable. They're taught to, be seen, not heard, and don't speak up or that's going to be consequences and you're great. Everything's held over you. And so how do you help them hold their space to just be a human being first? And that's all what I was modeled and how I think I've been modeling to the kids and youth around me as we had that little reunion a bit ago. Like, oh my gosh, we raised some monsters because they love themselves. So they wouldn't dare do anything that goes against the way they love themselves. I want that for everybody, and especially our youth and the men who are blocked from that. They don't get to love themselves. They don't get the opportunity to love themselves fully. And if you don't love yourself in this way and love the violence of this and support, then you're not really a man or a human being. And that's the sad part.
It's still my work. I'm still learning to love myself. Like I feel that. I feel that deeply. Where does that lead you, Dr. Jen?
Let's not just talk about men. Let's talk about masculinity and the various forms it takes, because to me, that's what's dangerous, is the masculinity. And that can be embodied by a lot of people. Like there are people within queer communities who either are like me, who are non-binary or who transition and carry with them deeply ingrained masculinity and misogyny. And the two are like hand in hand. They are like Like masculinity means you are misogynist. We live in a depth of dislike and wanting to erase women. That's part of masculinity. I feel like the healing is like, what are the parts of me that are tender and soft and like feminine? When I'm talking to men, like, what are the parts of you that are these things that you can't even hold? Because what if you held them, it would mean that you're holding care for yourself and for women and for femininity and for a softer side. And it is just drilled into men that that's not safe in their own bodies. And so it's projected outward, and we all pay the price for it, all of us. And people within queer community who I see enacting masculinity or misogyny, and they're in bodies that they were born into as AFAB people, it just enrages me, because I'm like, you are breaking gender, but you are reenacting the worst parts of this binary gender system by reenacting misogyny within yourself and within the community.
I appreciate that. There's something around like men versus masculinity, but even I know in the men's space, there's a real critique of the term toxic masculinity, which for me personally, because they're like, masculinity is not toxic. And I'm just like, well, what I was taught was hella toxic. Like it is this misogyny.
Yeah.
It is
How is
a
it
culture
not?
of domination and control and violence, so much violence, right? To meet force with equal or greater force. Otherwise, you're not a man and you are woman-like. And you're all of these other words and terms that kind of paint that man box, right? Paint us into like, oh, we got to back into this place. I can't be in any way like a woman or like a girl that you just saw Fernell about like, so to me, to be a man means not to be anything feminine or girl-like.
And the proximity to which man? Again, the whiteness.
That's right.
Using the box up in the corner is to be held to the white man, a proximity, all that masculinity, male. Well, which white man? It's to that. It's pointing to.
Well, it's even further. Is it the rich white man?
Yeah. Powerful, more power than maybe wealth, but just the power of who gets to wield that power over. And that's the ultimate way to use a hammer and get what you want, get it done.
Reminds me of a line from Derek Jensen about like violence flows down a hierarchy. Even my dad, who was like king at home, I mean, all powerful. But when I saw him at work, I was like 7 years old or so. He was meek. He was small. I mean, physically, literally, like not only his spirit but his body. Like yes sir, like lowly Mexican laborer. And I thought, well, if he's king, then the boss has the ultimate power, has power over the powerful. And that brings me to class and race and all these other factors of the men, the brown men I come from are all labor, whether in the fields or on the construction site or whatever. But our value is only in the physical capacity to like go build, work. Ultimately. And I think that's done me a lot of harm. I think I'm addicted to work, right? I cannot, and find my meaning and value in that. How do I separate my worth, and how do I separate myself from that? Even though I want to live a life of service, even though I want it to be, like I'm called, there's a purpose, there's all that. But there is an element that like, if I got in an accident or something and I couldn't work, then I would like, who would I be? I question all of that too. So I guess the question for me, I'm asking like, is where do we derive our meaning from as men, as people? Where does that lead you, Dr. Jen?
My context is the U.S., so I just know what colonization looks like and feels like. And so the way that white masculinity and white patriarchy was set up in this country was about owning, was about being an owner and having the ultimate power to own the white woman that was next to you, and own all the people who are working for you, and own the land that you stole, and be that king that you're talking about, Vince. And I know that's not all there is to masculinity. I know that that's one specific context, the U.S. and colonization. And colonization has had a huge impact around the world. In this country, I don't think you can divorce masculinity from whiteness, from class, from gender, from sexuality, from all of those things. I think they're all just embedded in one another. That's how I think about my dad, and like, he wasn't treated well by his father. He kind of lost his mother because his mother had to take care of his brother who got sick, and he lost his best friend who was his brother who became sick and they became separated. And my dad just had a lot of abandonment and loss and pain that he put into being a medical person. So he went on to become a doctor, and he put all of that into that. And yet he couldn't heal. He was literally physician heal thyself. He could not do it. He could not do it.
There is something about men's healing to me and legacy. I mean, as I look at my father, he was not equipped, right? He was not equipped to be a loving dad. That guy's, his father was a tyrant. And you know what I mean? Like, just trauma begets trauma and down the line. And so when do we make that stop?
My father was a genius of a black man. His humanity came before his maleness, his blackness, all of that. And to grow up in Louisiana and then escape the violence of lynching and all, to move across the country to be an educator and a principal in a time when black people weren't even supposed to be able to, against the law to read. And here I got principal, parents, and teacher of the year, mother, all of that. And I never once saw him abandon himself, meaning he didn't lose it on us. Everybody who came to our house that was working with him, dealing with him, they left and their demeanor was, "Thank you, Mr. Collins. Anything else I can do for you today?" So I got to see him treated like a full human being. And what that does to the legacy that we get to possess because of how he showed up, that's the healing that I received because he was a healed man in that way. And I'm not saying he didn't ever, get angry, all the things that dads do and all, but I got the most beautiful picture of what humanity was as far as a male in the family, how he cared for us and took care of us, and how the world treated him with respect and dignity. When on the TV at the same time, I'm watching black bodies be sprayed with hoses and torn apart and burned, yet my father somehow, how did he escape that?
How did he? Where did that come from? Like, what influenced him?
That's inside of him. And remember, I've talked about circle all my life. Like, I thought everybody grew up in circle. Here it is in my backyard. That's what was inside of him, to hold humanity in that way. The circle that we had in our little living room, in any car ride that we were on, any place, and even the places that he taught, respect that he had around the staff and the community. I didn't know really that, black people shouldn't be doing this, which is why I get accused of acting like a white man, because I saw my father act like a full human being. And I'm sure that's what they were like, why, who's this black man acting like he can move this way and doesn't need permission? And he didn't ask, but the way he moved was so inclusive and honoring, and everybody was a part of it. I thought everybody moved like that because that's the circle, that's the way that his legacy came to him. So when I share that, that's what I want. That's a healing network. I want that kind of dignity, respect, and honor to be seen, to be repeated and honored and held and practiced. He practiced his humanity is how he did that. He practiced it. Now, in his genius, yes, he was a tyrant about some stuff like some chores and get up on Saturday and all that. But that's discipline, that's drive, that's all the things that we want for ourselves and our families. And he didn't have to beat it out of us.
But it sounds like there's from a hierarchy, from this vertical to this horizontal, right? That's like what really engages our humanity. And both of you serve at the University of Washington, training professionals, Dr. Jen, social workers, Fernell, educators, teachers. And I'm curious about the years you've been doing this, the years in your service in social work and education, which are female-dominated fields. What has been your experience actually when you are training men in these fields? Dr. Jen, you've been at UW for some time, right? In this,
I have, yeah. I've been there in some capacity for 24 years. It's funny because really that's only 2 generations, but really it feels like about 4 or 5 generations because of the way that technology has changed people's access to each other. The students really change in who and how they are being in like 5-year cycles. And the cycle right now is these Gen Z, people who are like in their early 20s, and they're very different. They're very different than some of the people I saw in my earlier years, and the men are very different. The men are talking about mental health. They're talking about their real feelings. They're talking about their love for the other men in the class. They're talking about the love of men in their family. And so there's something that has happened that feels like it's moving. And I don't know if I can totally put my finger on it, because we are also living in a time of absolute fascism and terror.
Yeah.
So it's not like that has gone away, but I think the parenting in this country has changed each generation too. And this is one of the first generations that was actually parented by people who had the civil rights movement, who had what you're talking about, Fernell, who had an openness to parent differently and be with their children differently and allow for all of the aspects of being a human, which are like feelings and thoughts and actions. And we all have those. I think a lot of men in my dad's generation thought they couldn't have feelings. Like feelings are like a huge part of what it is to be a human. They're messages. They're messages about what's happening to us, about what our body needs, about what's happening in the world. And without our access to those feelings, we lose literally, I don't even know what percentage, but we lose like 50% of the information around us and in us. So I'm seeing these students change, and that makes me happy. I see how different, and it's still a women-centric profession. And within social work, men rise to the top, and women tend to be the people who are serving the people. So that patriarchy is just like recreated in the profession of social work.
For now, like obviously you live this experience, but I know the data too. So men are 25% of the teaching population, but then it goes to about 50-50 principal. And then superintendent, it switches. 75% of the superintendents are male, which draws from 25% of the population. So how skewed is that?
Well, and the rest of the biggest or largest male population in education are the coaches. And so in that population of coaches in athletic world that's in the school, what I'm seeing change is the suicide numbers are dropping. Like I said, I could name 4 or 5 healed men. I can also name 4, 5, 6 men who've taken their life in just the 1 or 2 districts that I've been in that were in that field that are opting to not be here anymore because of lots of things. I'm not hearing of those kind of stories as frequently as I was or have. I am hearing more men talk about their own children and their own childhood experience. The male principals that I work with, those statistics are true. It's very difficult to find support around them. I often have to be the one to say, hey, how about a little men's healing over here? And I provide space in my calendar to do that so they can have their own space because there's just not support around them. That's the way I keep trying to come on, you got it. Here, keep going. You got it. Just to keep the ones who are there. And then especially if there's men of color that they are definitely not supported there and are exiting from the programs. In the teacher prep programs, there's only a handful in. And so to do everything I can to help support and keep them there. That's what I've been seeing over the years is like, wow.
And how critical. I serve in a high school. It's been there 2 years every Friday. So it's just a weekly touch point. But the lack of male influence in their lives in these settings, public education, is pretty stark. And even the little touch point I get, it does go a long way. Just slowing down and holding space. The messages I get, and it almost seems out of proportion a little bit. For me, I'm just like, yo, I'm here for you. It's all good. But the impact it has is
huge.
It's significant. There was something around coaches, you're saying, Dr. Jen, about feelings. So I think there's so much low-hanging fruit in sports. And I know, Dr. Jen, you played ball all the way through college and all of that. And so when every game, somebody loses, every match, right? The nature of sport is winner and loser. And I think about losing and what that experience is. Even the guys that I serve, these high school students, say some of them are on the soccer team. They mostly had games on Thursday, and I'd show up on a Friday and I'd say, how was the match? And they just, head down.
Yeah.
They can't even talk about it. They can't even enter the dialogue. And I think if we learn how to lose well, That's so much, because
Yeah.
that's rejection.
Well, I think sports is one of the great wasted spaces in terms of doing work around race and racism and patriarchy and all of the things, because we're all just there playing a game with each other, and we have to rely on one another. And maybe this is happening more now, but when I was playing, certainly we were not having discussions about how we were as teammates with each other, white teammates and black teammates. We weren't talking about how it is that queer people were being named as masculine and like men as a way of ostracizing us. We weren't talking about that stuff. So I just feel like sports is there's so much potential there for change, and we do so little. We do so little with it. So it makes me sad. My daughter's been in two sports that are pretty physically powerful. She was a wrestler and a roller derby. And in both of those sports, one used to be male dominated, wrestling, but now it's like there's so many girls wrestling, and like the emotions that I see in wrestling are it's wild. Like people are so excited, they're so angry, they're so hurt. Everything is so personal in wrestling. It's perfect timing to like talk about this emotionality and the way for that to not only help you be a better human, make you be a better wrestler, all of those things. And still I feel like we lose it sometimes. We just don't take opportunity to have those conversations.
We can be in the bleachers for 2 hours together and then walk out. Like, we can't even be in the store together now. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't drive on the same road without road rage. Really? That's, yeah. Such missed opportunity.
You know, I'm just realizing this now, that we are all athletes.
Yeah.
Like a big part of our lives, right?
You know, because like it played at a time when, and all of us did in one way or another, played at a time where if I wanted to play anything, it was with boys, because I was such a good athlete that I wanted to play with the boys because that's who was playing and that's where it was at. I think I also got a lot of learning about masculinity in those spaces, about what it meant to be an outsider and how outsiders get treated and how outsiders are tossed aside and ridiculed and bullied. And all of that to me was about masculinity. And I think that I took a lot of negative masculinity into my own being. And one of the ways that I've even been able to come into my gender in a way that feels more whole and right is that I had to really face the misogyny that I was carrying. Because to be not a girl as a kid meant to hate all things that were girl. And that's actually that's not real for me. That's not, but it is what I learned. It's the misogyny I learned. And in order to have the masculinity that feels good to me, I had to undo all of that misogyny and all of that racism that was just, and I will always be working on that. But it was the way to my own freedom and myself.
Yeah, Fernell, is there anything as we come towards the end of our...
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was just about the practices. You say you've been unlearning that. And so I've been asking in circles lately, well, what are those pedagogies around that? What are your practices of unlearning, relearning, holding your own humanity so you can show up for others? How do you practice that? What are the micro practices that you do or that you can share? And maybe who have you watched or learned some of those from, one of those practices from? Because everything we do is a practice. Even our silence, our hiding, our pretending that we don't know, all of that is a practice when we get uncomfortable. And so I'm really asking people to look at your discomfort. When it starts to rise, what's your practice? I need to do that breath, which is why I have the circle built in my home and behind me, because when I'm not here, I can breathe that in. I can channel that. I can visualize it. I've got new curtains. I mean, I'm just needing to be outside, which is why my profession was to be outside for 40 years in PE. Like that's before I have to lose it on about anything, I can be with myself, and I don't want to abandon myself. So my practice is I have practiced not doing anything that goes against the way I love myself. And I don't want to go against the way I love you either. And so I can put myself in your place. I can switch myself in and out. Like I am you, you are me. We are each other. We're the medicine that we need. Some other practices, I love to use my mirror. The words that are said to me, I like to say them exactly how you said them to me. So you can hear what I heard too. And then my eyebrows, I love to use my eyebrows. So like, oh, did you hear that? Ooh, where did you learn that? Ooh, tell me more about that. And I'd love to play possum, like I don't know what you're talking about. So then I can hear how far you're going to go with that. And if I want to deal with it or not, or where do I want to pick it up in the middle and go, let me let you look at this a little bit closer. So all these little micro ways that I practice are honoring my own dignity. I don't want to be attacked, so I'm not going to jump on you, but I'm going to lift my eyebrows up to go, tell me where you got that from. Where'd you hear that? Show me, which usually stops a lot of stuff. Or once they hear their own words back and it's like, I thought that. Is that what you meant? Just to give a chance for humanity to like show itself. Because when you show yourself, you're telling the truth about yourself. That's why I asked the question, well, what's the truth about you? And people who don't know the truth about themselves, that's why they act and react and run all over the place, because they'll do anything except for you're going to do something that honors yourself or harms yourself in a way that you're going to let that out on somebody else. So it's very telling when you give people just a chance to show me your humanity. Where do you go with that? And they usually can, that's the practice, is like, I want to catch my own humanity before I have to come out and be a monster on somebody. I've just been asking folks, show me, like, I need some more. Come on, glean, give me some more practices. How do we do this? Because it's not a big gesture. Oh gosh, I went to a network, a healing circle, and then I've got it. It's practices. We need our daily practice. And then as soon as you think you've got it, you got to learn it all over again. You got to practice it all the time, just like you've been practicing not to do it all the time. I just want to invite people into practice. Practice your humanity.
Where does that lead you, Dr. Jen?
Well, I was thinking about all the things that I say to myself over and over. And it's like curiosity is a practice. Not knowing is a practice, like, rather than knowing. Accountability and vulnerability are really important practices, I think. For those of us, I think, who can be seen in positions of whatever pretend authority comes with whatever, I think showing our vulnerability and accountability first is really critical. And yet what we often do is ask for other people's vulnerability first. And so being willing to bear myself in a way that's not see me, but is in a way that's like, no, like, here's something I'm giving to you. It's for you and it's for us. It's not just for me. I think often that's the way that vulnerability appears sometimes in spaces, is people are doing it only for themselves, not for their connection with other people.
Another one you do, Jen, that I love is you change your mind quick. You get
I
on
do.
board, like you do.
Yeah.
You do that so beautifully. Like, oh gosh, I can do it that way. Let's try this.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
Oh, that's a better idea. Let's do that.
In stone. Yeah, they're not set in stone, or my way, the highway, or this is the way we've always done it. All those ways that we get through. Like, oh my gosh, you taught me that one. I love that one.
Yeah, it's really powerful. To just be like, oh yeah, I don't think I was right about that. Okay, let's do that.
I'm not sure if a lot of men can say, I don't know if I was right about that.
No.
That's a practice, though, to try.
A great practice, though.
Yeah. Try it. Go ahead, put that sticky note up. I dare you. Go ahead, say that 100 times a day. I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I really found that to be so powerful in my classes, to be able to say, they'll ask me questions. I'll be like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I bet we could all figure it out. Like right now, if we looked at some stuff and like.
Exactly.
It's really, I think it takes students off guard because they're used to just being given, like, told things.
Right.
But it also invites them to be like, yeah, let's create community of knowledge here. Like, let's build it together.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Not knowing invites in like that collaboration. There's something about too of these practices of unlearning entitlement. Like, I feel like entitlement is one of the roots of this patriarchy that I don't think my father could have beat my mother without the core belief that he had the right to do so.
Yes.
And I worked in the Duluth model with men who batter, and that seems like they don't quite name it, but like that's what the teaching is. It's like, how do you unlearn this entitlement?
Yeah.
And instead of like learning what not to do, what I hear you saying is like, here's what we do. Here's the vulnerability. Here's actually what accountability does look like. There's something though about this practice of not knowing that I'm leaving here with. That's really beautiful for me personally. to be just like, okay, yeah, it's going to be okay that I don't know.
Well, we yield to men, we yield to whiteness, to be the authority, to know everything, to have the answer, to speak first, to be the all-knowing Oz, so to climb down off that pedestal. That's why I do circle the way I do, is to climb down off that pedestal of authority and all-knowing and be the last to speak in the circle. So then you've got the opportunity to finally listen first and hear what maybe you've never heard, because you're pushed into and centered and catapulted into, you have to know all the answers. What an impossible place to be all the time. And so that's why I upside down and reverse that and circle. So then there's an opportunity to get down off that, listen, hear and understand in a way that you've never maybe got an opportunity to, because you're all expected to be in the center and speak and know and do it all and tell everybody what to do. Like, oh, please, get down. Get down to
But more than an
breath,
expectation,
listen.
too, like a pressure, too.
Mm-hmm.
A pressure. Like even like this addiction
Expectation.
to work. Like, yeah, this expectation, too. And one of the most powerful circles I've had with men, all Chicanos, this is a couple of years ago, it's still with me, that the pressure to breadwin, the pressure to like perform in this way is so heavy. It is so heavy. And I think that's where a lot of us crack, because it is overwhelming. So you turn to vice, you turn to whatever, right? But we don't question that expectation.
Yeah. And one of the hard things about that pressure too is that it's upheld by everybody. It's not just like men putting pressure on themselves or Latino men putting pressure on themselves. It's like women putting pressure on men. It's everybody. It's like, no, do it this way. And I see men try to break out of that sometimes and be told by women around them that, like, no, actually, I want you to be manly, or I want you. I'm like, wow, is that what we want? I'm not sure. Because most women I know would rather fight a bear than a man. So
there's these two things to hold. One, like, men are hurting. Like, it's clear, right? Those suicide completions 4 times, all of that, the isolation, even amidst this tech world, and the other side of accountability and responsibility for harm, for entitlement, for unlearning, for all of that. And I think as we get ready to close here, I want to be clear that I love men. I love my sons. I love my father. I love my uncles. I love the men in my life so profoundly, so deep, especially my sons in particular, watching them struggle in their late 20s now. But I do love that they call when they're not well, that they can pick up the phone and say, yeah, I'm really struggling. I'm really hurting. And we can cry together. There is something about that I know that little window is going to lead to more stable living, more fulfilling living.
I have proof of that. And you've met my sons.
That
those windows, that way that they were held, and through their college years, even when we were distant, how much I could feel them and hold them even when I couldn't get to them, how powerful and important that is. And being a Black mother on the planet in the United States, I couldn't see their life into adulthood or becoming fathers. I didn't think I would have grandparents. And so when one of my sons was hurt and almost died, my first thought was, I'm so glad I had him at least till 21. Like that went through my mind, and I'm like, look, oh my gosh, look at that. Look how I've been holding their lives like they're not going to be here, and I can barely take it. And had to hold it like that. And it took their son, who worked at my school, to see his car in the parking lot every day, for my nervous system to come to a place where, I'm gonna get to see him maybe for the rest of my life. Like, that is so. That's, I don't know. There's got to be words beyond love about that, because I couldn't live without these men in my life. Yet, how do we hold them in the harm that they are in, and the harm that it causes us to even hold them?
Wow.
So
Fear. Well, as we close here, Dr. Jen, is there anything that you feel like we've missed that is important to share with the world?
I mean, we've said so much. We've said so many. There's more.
Like,
there's a lot, probably more to do.
You got another hour? Jen's go.
I know.
I think we can have our own season.
Yeah.
You better have us more than once.
At the end, just feeling like I do about most things, which is like everything is not one thing. everything is kind of everything. And like, I loved my father, and I also really hated my father. And I love my brother, and I love watching him heal. And all of that's real. And it's hard to hold it all, but it's real. My father was fun, and he was scary, and he was loving, and he was mean. And that's just real and true. And we can heal if we want to, I think.
We want to. That part, if we want to.
I want to.
I know. That's why we're
Yes,
here, because we know
that-
you
I know
want
that
to.
about you.
We've seen you, watched you, witnessed you, not
Yeah.
just wanting to, but doing it. That's why
But
we
doing
keep
it.
showing up for you, because I need to witness that. You need us to
Yeah.
witness that to you, just like you witnessed to us, to me at least. I wouldn't know unless I had other people to witness, to say, hey, did you know this is where you left off, or what I've seen your growth through, or gosh, you've helped me heal in this way. And that's the witness that we need to each other. Men need that. We all need that, but especially our men and boys who are left out of the emotional world.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. There is something in there to witness, to both be witnessed and to witness.
Yep. Breath on all that.
Exactly. Thank you for having us with you, Vincent.
We're always with you. You know that, right?
You know what I'm noticing as we close this season, this podcast with you two, is I'm more calm right now than I think I have been in any other session. There's something, and I'm going to be curious about what that means for me. And also, you know, we have some longstanding relationships, and I think that's part of it. But what you two bring to this conversation, I know is rooted in love. And that, I think, is ultimately just truly calming. And I've had some amazing conversations with some wonderful men, also rooted in love. I feel yours.
Thanks. Good.
Thank you. Good, because we feel yours, and you're not going anywhere, like I said. So this may be the end of your little series, but I'll see you on Friday. Okay.
I mean, the podcast does have to end, but
But you're ours. You're mine.
it'll be ours. Yeah, that's right.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for making time, and
We love
just
you.
for offering all that you are. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Love you.
Blessings all. Thank you for joining us for this conversation, and thank you to our guests, Fernell Miller and Dr. Jen Self, for sharing their wisdom, their honesty, and their unwavering commitment to building a world rooted in healing, belonging, and justice. As we close out the first season of the Men's Healing Network podcast, I'm reflecting on the threads that run through every conversation we've had. Healing isn't something we accomplish alone. It's found in the courage to tell the truth, in friendship, in grief, in accountability, in fatherhood, in community, in the willingness to ask for help, and as we explore today, in the courage to question the systems we've inherited so we can choose something better for ourselves and for one another. If there's one hope I have for this season, it's that these conversations have reminded you that healing isn't about becoming a perfect man. It's about becoming a more present father, partner, friend, son, neighbor, and ultimately a human being. It's about learning to meet ourselves and each other with greater compassion, curiosity, and courage. Whether you've listened to one episode or all of them, thank you for being part of this community. Every time you choose vulnerability over performance, connection over isolation, or love over fear, you're helping create the kind of world this network exists to support. I'd like to extend my deepest gratitude to everyone who made this season possible. Thank you to our incredible guests for trusting us with your stories and your wisdom. Thank you to our listeners for showing up with open hearts and a willingness to engage in conversations that aren't always easy, but are always worthwhile. Special thanks to our producer, Tom Kepler, for shaping these conversations and helping to bring this podcast to life. And to Dee Enriquez for helping us spread the word about these important conversations. We're also deeply grateful to the Choice Regional Health Network, whose generous support made this first season possible. This may be the end of season 1, but it isn't the end of the conversation. Healing is a lifelong practice, and the work continues every time we choose to show up for ourselves and each other. Until next season, take good care of yourselves, take good care of one another, and remember, you don't have to do this alone. I'm Vincent Perez. Thank you for listening, and blessings to you and yours.